Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You know, an untended forest is no different than an untended garden. It's going to grow and grow until it chokes itself to death, and then it's going to fall victim to disease, pestilence, drought, and ultimately catastrophic fire. That's how nature gardens. She doesn't care that it takes a century or more for a forest to regrow. Nature's got all the time in the world. It's we mortals that care. So a century ago, we formed the U.S. Forest Service to do the gardening. Every year, we'd send out foresters to mark off excess timber. We'd then auction it off to logging companies who would pay us to remove it. A quarter of the revenues from these federal timber auctions went back to the local governments that were directly impacted by the public lands. The other 3/4 went back into our forests through the Forest Service. But beginning in the 1970s, we began passing laws that have made forest management infinitely time-consuming and ultimately cost-prohibitive. It now takes an average of nearly 5 years to conduct an environmental study for forest thinning projects, costing millions of dollars, often more than the value of the timber. So instead of making money to remove excess timber, it now costs us money, so not a lot of it gets done. Now, the left promised us that this would improve the forest environment. Well, after 50 years of this folly, I think we're entitled to ask, how's the forest environment doing? Since 1980, we've seen roughly an 80% decline in timber harvested off the federal lands and a concomitant increase in forest acres destroyed by fire. Chairman showed us one chart. I think we've got another one here that makes that point even more clearly. In this last decade, we've lost nearly a quarter, actually slightly more than a quarter of our national forests to catastrophic fire, including many of the habitats that the ideologues say they want to preserve. So I would suggest those who've advocated these policies over these years should hang their heads in shame. Now, Director Schultz, we got a categorical exclusion from NEPA for forest thinning projects in the Tahoe Basin. It has taken the environmental review process from 5 years down to a few months. It's taken the environmental reports from 800 pages down to a few dozen. It's increased the federal timber harvest on the Tahoe Basin from 1 million board feet a year to 9 million board feet a year. It has tripled the amount of treated acreage since that was enacted in 2016, and it is what saved the city of South Lake Tahoe from the Caldor fire. The fire hit a tract treated under that authority, it lay down, and the firefighters were able to put it out. So my first question to you is, do we need more money or do we need fewer regulations?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McClintock, thank you for the question. I think the answer to your question, I think it's intuitive that we are trying to streamline process in many cases in order to be more effective in deployment of both our land management opportunities as well as our firefighting opportunities. So yes, I mean, I think your question, do we need more money or do we need a more efficient process? We're focused on creating a more efficient process. So the administration has directed a review of the NEPA process that we're going through. We've updated NEPA regulations to simplify that process, make it more efficient. There's looking at more categorical exclusions that are adopted throughout the agency. But in particular, the Tahoe Basin that you referenced, I was out there about 2.5 months ago. We specifically talked about this and how effective that CE has been.
We are trying to get that policy extended throughout our national forests, and it's being opposed by the people on that side of this dais, and I think that's a shame. And you know, they tell us what is climate change, but you can literally tell, as you know, tell the boundaries between the public and private lands in the Sierra just by looking at the condition of the forests. I think it's very clever of the climate to know exactly what those boundaries are and to only decimate the public lands. But private owners make money keeping their forests in excellent condition. The government now loses money keeping our forests in decrepit condition. We used to run the entire Forest Service simply from the proceeds of these federal timber auctions. Can we get back to those days, and how?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McClintock, we're working to get back to those days, yes, sir.
The leftist mantra is that it's because of decades of fire suppression, and if we just let the fires burn frequently, they'll be less intense, but they miss the other half of the equation. All that excess timber is going to come out in two ways. It's either carried out by us or nature will burn it out. If we're going to stop nature from doing the burning, then we have to do the carrying, and that's what we stopped doing. Is that essentially your assessment?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. McClintock, that's accurate. We need to manage the land effectively to reduce fire hazards. There's no doubt about that.
Thank you.